what's their limiting belief? Like, did they think if they attempt that bench press or that squat or whatever, what if they fail? What if you fail? What if you fail? Are you just going to have to try? Like, put some honest effort in, have honest conversations with yourself. Like, am I giving it my best effort? Am I being honest with my nutrition and with myself? And then what's my limiting belief going, oh, well, I'm just always going to be a person who is 20 pounds overweight, or I'm always going to be the person that can't do this, right? It's like, well, who said that for you? Who made that your truth? You can buck up against that in all areas of your life, right?
You're listening to the Big Ideas Podcast with Ashlee Ilg. Tune in for honest conversations as we pursue bold dreams, redefine what is possible, and empower the next generation to live big. You'll hear stories that prove over and over again that just because something wasn't a part of our plan doesn't mean it won't be used for our good. Whether you're already an entrepreneur, you dream of becoming one, or you're raising the next generation of entrepreneurs, this podcast is for you. There's no time to waste on your big ideas. So let's get started. Here's your host, Ashlee Ilg.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Big Ideas Podcast. We're so excited you're back with us today, and we've got just a really fun interview conversation planned for you. So I know you're going to get so much out of it. If you have been following along, or if you've not been following along this season, you know that this season 3 on the podcast is just all about trusting God when we don't really see where this plan is going, where it might not even make sense. But he just continues to just blow our mind with story after story of, oh my gosh, when I let go, God showed up big. And so I'm super excited to have my friend Payden Montgomery here with us on the show. Payden is a local business owner here with her gym. With her and her husband have owned it. And you can tell us all about that story. But we met through Mom to Mom, which is an incredible nonprofit here in town that just serves so many moms just in the thick of motherhood. And I always say I survived and probably thrived-ish more.
Yeah.
The jury's still out if I was really thriving, but 3 under 3, I was definitely like, just get me to Thursdays, get me to Mom, and I'm gonna be okay.
Same.
So yeah.
I was the same way. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
almost Thursday.
Yeah. So that's where we met. We connected. Obviously, we both have boys and business owners now, and we've cheered each other on through the pandemic, through just, shifts in everything, in all of the life things. So I'm so excited to have you here today. I'm excited for you to share all of your wisdom with all the listeners. So why don't you just kind of drop us into the story of GoPerformance? How did it come about? Did it make sense with, your career plans? Was it something that you'd always looked forward to doing? How did you and Lane know that this was we're going to do this?
Not at all. So actually, we moved to Peachtree City in 2008. I was newly married and also still in college. So I commuted back and forth to Sanford during the week to finish my degree while Lane worked at a performance facility here locally. And that was in 2008. We moved over here for him to take that job, and the economy had a downturn, and that place went out of business. So I'm going back and forth to school. We're making like $0 because he didn't have a job. Thankfully, my dad paid for my gas, or we would just be broke as jokes. And so he started just training people at another facility. Then that facility didn't go well either. It was like being on a sinking ship. We're like, golly, this is not good. And we were really, really stressed. And then he started training people at a place called American Body Works. And it was just like a 24/7 access gym. But the guy was like, yeah, you can train some people. And he had built up a little bit of a following. So they went over there with him, and he trained these people in like this tiny little space. Like, you'd have to do walking lunges just to get like 10 reps on every leg. You'd have to go up and down the facility like 7 times. And so I'm still in school at that point. Well, I think I had graduated at that point, and I was working at a church. He was training these people. Fast forward, I get a job at Chick-fil-A corporate at Chick-fil-A marketing. So my career was like about to felt like it was going to take off. That was 2010. And so Lane came to me and said, hey, I either want to be a physical therapist or open my own gym. And I'm like, well, they both sound really expensive, and I'm trying to forge my way as a career woman. So just pick whatever makes you happy. And that was really all I inputted. And then he went on his researched different gym models, found the model of GoPerformance, which was based out of Nashville, which was a 24/7 gym with adult training built in, because that's what Lane wanted to do. And then because he was a collegiate athlete, he added the athletic component to it. It was like 24/7 access, athletes and adults. And so we opened in 2012. I was still at Chick-fil-A. And then I was working really hard. That was way before the days of working from home was permissible. I had to wear a suit every day, high heels. Like I was out of the department that was requiring pantyhose, thank the Lord. But like, I was at
Yeah.
the office every day. I had Malachi a year later and I'm still working and I'm so stressed. We have no family in town. And he just looked at me one day and said, if you're going to work this hard and be this stressed, can you do it for us? And
Mm.
so I was like, I guess, I think. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense financially at the time, but I knew that I wanted to be home for my kids and I missed Malachi when he was at work. And it was really stressful managing all of that. And hats off to the moms who like stick it out and do it. But it just wasn't really working for our family. So I quit Chick-fil-A in 2014, which is like kind of unheard of. People tend to not leave there. And then I stepped into helping him. And about, I don't know, 8 weeks after I quit Chick-fil-A, two of our coaches got different jobs. And I couldn't figure out why I didn't feel good.
Mm.
Tired. Why am I so tired? I was pregnant again. So I was like, oh, good gracious. So I'm coaching. And I actually didn't have a background in fitness, but we didn't have any staff. And like, that's the entrepreneurial role. Like if you don't have a janitor, you clean the toilets, you don't have a trainer, you start to coaching. So I started coaching. I was very pregnant, but I helped run the marketing, the back end, and really gave my administrative gifts to the business so that Lane could help grow it. And that was back in 2014. Bravery, my second boy, was born in 2015. That's when I joined Mom to Mom and met you, I
Yeah.
think. So that was the kind of the story. Yeah, I didn't really plan on owning a gym. I really wanted to be a news broadcaster.
I love that.
Well, that's what I really wanted to do. And so I have a journalism background. But, it all worked together. My skill sets are so different than Lane's. It complements each other really, really well. We stay in our lane. The business is doing great. It just turned 13, so it's a teenager.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the origin story. So I really I married a meathead, I guess.
With a
Yeah,
vision. Yeah.
vision.
Yeah.
He is the visionary for sure.
Yeah. I love the story of him saying, can you work this hard for us? And I can so relate to that because Andy and I have we have a very similar story where, and even a background, you and I both, because I got a degree in communications and wanted to be a magazine editor, which I was for a short window, scratch that itch, and, but we got to the point too where he looked at me and he said, I can't keep running at this pace if you're going to be kind of not running it with me, because I was not. We had 3 boys in that season and he was like, just tell me now and we'll stop it all and we'll go back to, the corporate, security blanket, 2-week paycheck. Security
100%.
blanket is really not any more secure at this point, but at that time it felt more safe.
Sure.
And yeah, we kind of had that, come to Jesus meeting of like, we're either doing it together or we're got to figure something out here because we just could not keep doing it.
Same.
Yeah. I love that. Well, so talk about that. You kind of were leading into how you and Lane work together. Your gifts are completely different from his, which again, I think it is common, the whole opposites attract thing. But at the same time, like there's so many common things, I guess, that keep us rooted and grounded together. But how would you say, on like a practical level, you and Lane, have kind of figured out how to make this work? Obviously, it's a successful gym now. You just turned 13. The business just turned 13 and your kids are growing up watching all of this. I mean, not to sugarcoat anything, but like, what are maybe some practical things you and Lane have learned to?
Yeah. So we really learned that we are differently skilled. And so like I manage like the back end bookkeeping and the marketing and like he'll check in and be like, how are things? Or he may ask a question, but it's always from a curiosity standpoint, not from like a macro managing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even when it comes to like training or programming or all what he's doing in the gym, like he leads our coaches. I don't get in that way. Like I don't say, I think you need to talk to our coaches about XYZ. Like he's got such a good pulse on that he doesn't need me to step into there. So we really have some clear roles of like what we're really good at. And then we share like this common vision for the gym, the global vision, which is super helpful and it keeps us on track. For anybody that is an entrepreneur, we walked through the Gino Wickman book called Traction and we hired a coach for 2 years. And that was so pivotal in our business because it even made made what we were doing more powerful because we had this shared vision. And then we have these roles and responsibility and accountability chart. And our organization has grown. And so what was kind of a mom and pop show is, I mean, we have a pretty big staff now. And so bootlegging it worked for a while, but now we really have to have, systems and charts and stuff like that. And so that's really helped us as far as like working together and maintaining a healthy marriage and also parenting. It's like all one big jumbo mix. When Bravery, my youngest, started kindergarten, it dawned on me. I was like, oh my gosh, we'll have like a whole day alone with no kids, 5 of them in a row. And so at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, we don't have to have a sitter to like go talk and have a conversation. And I was like, so we said when he went to kindergarten that every Friday would be our date day. We don't always take the whole day, but we either go to breakfast or lunch every Friday and we'll go for a walk. And sometimes it's very brief. It's like we got to go get a salad because we got to go meet an accountant or whatever. We do business stuff, but we're not actually at the gym most Fridays. And so that's been really helpful. And I look forward to that, especially the grind of like parenting and kids sports and laundry and, managing a team. I look forward to Fridays because I know I'm going to get to connect with him. If there's something we need to solve, a problem we need to address, whether that's the kid thing, the work thing, the in-law thing, I know that Fridays are kind of designated for that. And so that's really been powerful for us to have a pretty standard standing meeting together, not meeting, but, and there was a season here recently where we really did work 5 days a week, like 8 days a week, really, doing some stuff in our business. And I looked at him and I was like, I need our Fridays back. Me too. And so that's been really helpful for us. And then our kids go to WindShape for 2 weeks in the summer, and that's been awesome. They love it. It's great for them. And so we go away those 2 weeks and we have fun and we hang out and we date and remember like why we're doing this and have fun. Like I think a lot of married couples don't have fun anymore. Like we've been married for 17 years and been together for 20. And so like we have fun and we laugh and we do things we like to do together and we make space for one another. We read books together and just go away for those 2 weeks. And I think that's like such a good pause from our business and our life to just focus on like, hey, how are you? What's God teaching you? Like, what are you struggling with? Like, where are you needing help in certain areas? And so I'm looking forward to that in June. It's T-minus 8 weeks away. So I'm very excited.
That's amazing. I love that. Hey, friend, I wanted to take a quick pause to ask if you've taken the quiz yet to find out what type of dreamer are you. It's super important to discover what's working for you, but also some things that may be keeping you from really pursuing your greatest purpose. It takes just 2 minutes to find out if you're the skimboarder, the sunbather, the sandcastle builder, or the surfer babe. So jump over to dreamerquiz.com and be sure to share your results and tag me in it. Now back to the show. Andy and I, Tuesdays are kind of like your Fridays for us, and like Tuesday, the second half of Tuesday. And I totally agree. He actually said this past Tuesday, he said, I think date nights are the secret to every marriage. And I was like, I wrote a whole blog about it. Like, I agree, It's so simple, but it can be so easy to dismiss or, not make it happen or just find reasons not to. I mean, we're busy. We're all busy. And but you're so right. I mean, looking forward and knowing that that day is coming up. So if it's like a heavier conversation or just like a more complicated thing that you're like, we can't get through it when there's, a dinner table full of kids, or we're running, in 2 different directions trying to get kids where they needed to be, or, businesses, stuff done, whatever. Yeah. He's on the road a good bit these days with the manufacturing company. So some days I'm like, but you're back on Tuesday, where he's like, I'm not missing Tuesday. So
it's really powerful.
Yeah. I love that. So what do you think your kids are, or what are you hoping that they see? I don't know. I don't know the answers to these questions. So are they like giving you kickback? Do they love it? Do they like talk about training themselves?
So it's funny. I took my kids to get a physical for WindShape, and the lady was like, had him hop on one foot, and she goes, "Can you squat? Do you know what a squat is?" And I was like, "You better know what a squat is. I'll slap you right
in perfect form."
So they actually really do like going to the gym. We've never made it a requirement. It's never been a punishment. It's just like, let's move our bodies. They're boys. They have tons of energy. And so they actually really like going to the gym. And there's moments like I'm off on Thursday afternoons. Like I don't have to be there. And so that kind of starts my weekend kind of early, but my kids beg me to go to the gym on Thursdays. And so I'm like, I can't say no. Like they're begging me to take them somewhere. And so I think that they're seeing that moving their bodies is important. It's not punishment. We're called by God to take care of our bodies. And so that is a component of taking care of our bodies. bodies. And so I hope that's what they're observing. Now, what they're observing from like an entrepreneurial standpoint, I don't know, because they hear and see the good, the bad, the ugly
Yeah.
days that we are like, this is terrible or this is great. And so I don't know what they're learning. I grew up, my dad was an entrepreneur. And so I grew up in that world. My husband did not. And so I hope that they're learning from that standpoint, like just the grit of being an
Mm.
entrepreneur. And like, it's not easy, but there are things that entrepreneurs really value, and that's autonomy and freedom. And not every corporate job gives you that. And so
Yeah.
if you like that, then you might want to consider that.
Yeah.
And my kids were asking me in the car the other day, like, well, they were talking about like selling Cokes or something. They're business minded kids, right?
Mm.
And I was like, well, buddy, you could potentially sell lemonade or Cokes or whatever and have a little stand. But the real question you need to ask yourself is, what problem do you want to solve? And if you can solve a problem for somebody, then they'll pay you to solve it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the question you need to answer with what you want to do with your life, whether that's owning your own business or working for somebody else. But yeah, I hope that they see that we're people who can power through hard seasons like COVID and gym shut down. And we renovated our gym in 2018. That was super stressful. But I hope they see the Fridays off when we go get them out of school early and swim
Yeah.
at the pool. And we pick up our kids from school and take them to school. And that's
Mm.
not a perk everybody gets. And
Yeah.
so I hope they see those things. Of course, they can't articulate that now, but yeah, I hope they see the grit, the resilience, and then the rewards of like helping people succeed. Like they've known athletes that have run around with them at the gym and thrown the ball with them that have
Mm.
gone on to play like D1 sports and then have gone to play pro ball. And they're like, that's Cole. I know him. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, your dad trained him. And they're like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So they do love working out. They love to be at the gym. I don't know if they'll go and do their own thing or not, but at least they're seeing us hustle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think just seeing that that is a real option. I mean, I grew up not even knowing that there was like an option to own a business. Like I was, no, like, shade to my parents or how I was raised or anything like that. But it was like, what job do you want? Like, what career do you want? It wasn't that there was even an option to own a business. So, I married Andy and we, started our first business together. And I was like, I hadn't even thought, like, I hadn't even considered this. And so I think it's cool, at least for your kids, my kids, all the people out there with businesses and their kids are watching, whether they go into business or not, at least they get a really good 360-degree view of like,
this is what it's
this
like.
is what it's going to be. Let me not be surprised if I choose this, but
Mhm.
also let me know that there's some great rewards, and
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that's awesome. All right. So I personally, and I think probably a lot of women listening too, would love to kind of dig into like, as women are aging, we're not getting old, but our bodies are changing. And so, yeah, we're not going to talk about being old or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I would just love your perspective on, as you're helping your clients at the gym, obviously friends, I'm sure, come to you for advice and nutritional tips, workout tips, all of that. I guess let's just start with like, what do you notice most about women let me set this up for you. So for women who are already active, are already aware and have maybe a habit of working out, focusing on nutritional goals, things like that, but their body's changing. And so they're like,
What's happening?
what used to work isn't kind of maybe bringing me the same results as before.
Yeah.
So
You would see it all the time. We
Yeah.
serve adults over 40. That's kind of our niche. So any 21-year-old looks amazing, right? Normally, here's my type of my morning routine. I'm like, just trying to not look so puffy.
Yeah.
So women over 40, and even like as you're coming up on 40, your hormones are changing, and what worked 10 years ago didn't, because your hormones are changing. And so what we tell our clients and any friend that comes to me, I'm like, go get your hormones tested. Like your primary care provider is not going to run a full panel. They're not going to do it. It's not something that they need to do really for like a primary care standpoint. And so you need like an anti-aging functional medicine specialist to run a full hormone panel. And like, you got to think, your estrogen's probably, declining, your testosterone's declining, everything's off. And so if you're like moody and can't sleep and you're sweating and you can't lose weight, no matter if you just ate celery all day, every day, that's probably why. And so I tell women to get their hormones checked and get that under control. You'll feel much better. You'll look much better. It makes makes a lot of things simpler. And then I think for women who are already active, I think that's super important. And then I think there's just so much research around creatine for women, which has lived in the bodybuilding world for a long time. But like there's tons of research that creatine every day for a female is super safe. It's very researched and it's cheap and it tastes like nothing. It's good for cognition. And it's good for women in all phases of life. I just read an article. It's like, it's good for like when you're menstruating, when you're pregnant, when you're breastfeeding, like all these,
Yeah.
so like all the time.
All the time.
It helps with like if you're sleep deprived and you take it, it helps your cognition. If you have a big presentation, there's actually studies that says you can like double down on a dose and it will like fire your neurons like crazy. And so I tell our women, I'm like, get your protein in, lift and take your creatine and like you need to do that like 4 to 5 days a week, the lifting, the strength training to protect your bones as you age. And the creatine is just going to help, like you have no brain fog. It has all these wonderful benefits. So, when you asked me that question in the outline beforehand, I was telling Lane, I was like, it's funny because women look at other women like, I want to look like that. I want those legs and those arms. And I'm like, what most people don't realize is she got that way because she lifted and ate protein and like stressed her body to build those muscles. She didn't get that like eating salads and running, right? So it's like, you're going to have to lift, you're going to have to get your protein in and get those hormones checked because man, that just really makes things a lot easier. You need it. And you need someone that's going to, really take note of those things and pay attention to those markers.
Yeah. So do you have a recommendation of where we should do that?
Yeah, so locally we partner with Apex Wellness and they do female provider. And so that's who we send our people to. And I'll tell you a crazy story. We had this lady come on board. I won't tell her name, but she went and got her hormones checked and she was really frustrated because she wasn't losing weight. She's probably 48, 49. It saved her life because they did her blood work and it was too thick. And they said she was probably within 6 to 12 months of having a blood clot and dying.
Oh my gosh.
First of all, she's like, I don't feel good. B, they were like, we like doing this blood work like saved your life. And so right now she actually can't do any exercise because they're trying to get her blood back to normal, but she comes and walks on the treadmill and she just cried in my office because she was like, I don't know what would have happened to me. But yeah, they were like, you were within 6 to 12 months of having a massive blood clot and potentially dying. And so not to scare anybody, but there's some real power in taking control of like your health and your hormones. And even for men too, like we've sent our men there as well, because it's more common for men to get testosterone replacement therapy, but I feel like women don't talk about it. They're like, right. It's not true. It's like, if you took birth control at any point, you were doing artificial hormones like that. So it's not like out of the realm of possibilities, but Apex is who we go to locally and it's all remote. Like you don't even have to go into an office. So for like busy moms and women, sign me up. Zoom meeting, tell me what to do. I'll order it and off I go.
Yeah. Well, and I think because of like my age group, it's becoming more and more of a great conversation and I'm loving it because I love all things health related, nutrition, like help me feel my best, please. Like help this system work as it was designed to, you know?
I want to feel good for a long time. Like I want to be the grandma that goes on a walk and walks up and down stairs and all those things. And so, I mean, really like early, I think early on you train for like aesthetics, I want to wear that size XYZ dress. And now I'm like, no, I just want to be a really awesome old lady.
Yeah.
I just want to be strong. If I fit into the dress I like, great.
Yeah.
But aesthetics are the secondary. I want to feel good and I want to be strong and I want to be healthy because longevity is key.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I want to be here for all the things.
All the things.
Yeah, I love that. So besides the hormone test, are there any other secrets that you feel like people aren't talking about this? Let me be the one to...
No, I think that's just strength train, get your steps in.
Yeah. No, let's talk about strength training because I was a runner in college. Like I had a scholarship for the cross country team. Like I was paid to run and I was like, let me overachieve here and run when I'm not even supposed to be running. I mean, it was pretty destructive. I'm not like trying to glamorize that season of my life, but for people who maybe overdid the cardio, and just had that goal of, like you were talking earlier, like being a certain size or looking a certain way, and strength training maybe has this, connotation of being bulky or whatever. And, over the years, I've definitely been educated on the perks and the benefits and the long-term benefits, especially with strength training and using heavier weights than you think you should, or think you can, might be a better way to say that. So talk about the strength training. Talk about like on like
Yeah,
an
all the time.
80-20. Is it a 50-50? Is it like spend more days weightlifting, you know?
So I despise running, and if I'm running, I'm in danger. So just just know that. That's a warning sign. Really, the strength training piece, and if you wanna, is so important. And yes, women can lift heavy, not get bulky. I know you can't see me, but I've been strength training since I was in college, so 20 years, and I am petite and
You are
tiny.
not bulky at all. I can
I'm not
attest.
bulky,
Yeah.
I'm teeny, pound for pound, I feel like I'm pretty strong, and so, like, I tell women that come to me, I'm like, "How here's this, we're gonna get you on a strength training program, and if you decide at any point that you get too bulky, we'll stop." And I've been in business for 13 years, and nobody's told me that ever.
I love that.
And so I strength train 4 to 5 days a week. I walk almost every day if the weather's nice. And then like from a cardio piece, like once, maybe twice a week. And it's really no more than like 6 to 12 minutes of
Mm,
like, hey, I'm gonna push a sled, do a slam ball, do a kettlebell swing, like a little circuit, like so I can sweat and breathe hard. But honestly, if you're supersetting strength stuff, like today I did some back stuff and some hamstring stuff as like a little superset, my heart rate's like thumping, right?
mhm,
So strength training is so good for women. It protects you against like osteopenia and osteoporosis, the little old lady hunched over syndrome. It helps you look good. I think it makes me personally feel good. Like
mm,
I can pick that up off the floor and put it back down, and it weighs way more than I do, or I can squat more than my body weight. And
yeah.
so it doesn't make you bulky. If anything, it helps with mood, anxiety, sleep, all those. It has so many benefits. And I'm so glad that mainstream media is talking about it now. Like when I
Yeah.
scroll through my Instagram, I'm like, people are talking about this. Finally, we don't sound like we're crazy, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's not the constant hit training, it's strength training. And I think women are realizing that too. And the beauty of like, strength training now with like weight loss drugs, like a GLP-1 or an Ozempic, like for me in the gym, I used to have to help me with nutrition and strength training and weight loss and all the things. I'm like, well, now like there's medically assisted weight loss. Like hit the easy button, make it easier, and then just strength train. Like
Mm,
you have all your energy there. And so while you're getting help losing weight, if you need to lose a significant amount of weight, it's going to be so much easier because now all you really have to focus on is like go to the gym.
mhm.
I mean, you still have to focus on some of your nutrition, but that certainly makes things a little easier. So it's great for women from a confidence perspective, and just the longevity piece of preserving muscle mass, bone mass as you age. Because once you get past the age of like 30, it's so hard to put on muscle. It's so
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And I've noticed that just like, personally, I'm like, man, my arms are, I feel just as strong, but I can tell that it's going away, and I'm
Yep.
like,
You
I'm
have to
gonna
chase it, man.
need
You gotta chase it.
yeah, I'm like, I gotta increase my weight with this. So
And
I'm
I think for people who aren't doing anything that hear this, like you don't have to be strong to start. You just got to start,
mm,
and then you'll be strong, right? And it's that one step. It's that one little, I'm going to go every Monday. I'm not going to miss a Friday or whatever. It's those just tiny micro steps to where it's like now I'm like, if I don't go to the gym, my couple days, I feel out of sorts. I'm like,
mm.
something's off.
Yeah, yeah, I need those endorphins for sure.
Mhm. Same,
Yeah, yeah.
same.
All right. Well, as you're kind of talking about that, like for the women who maybe aren't feeling like they are ready to increase what they're doing, they're just ready to start, or maybe for the woman who looks in the mirror and is just really not super thrilled with her progress or where she's like, where do I even start? Like, I just have so many things I want to change, and just
Yeah.
that self love, that like respecting your body, all of those pieces of like, I mean, it could probably be a podcast in itself, but like
Yeah.
you speak to women all the time. And so what's the struggle? What's the message? What would you tell the women who are like, I'm frustrated, I don't know what to do,
Yeah. So I would tell them if they're frustrated. I mean, I would just look at what their training looks like. What does your diet look like? Are you having an honest conversation? Have an honest conversation with yourself, right? We do nutrition coaching too, and women will log food and they will always lie. Not always, a lot of them lie. Like, you have one glass of wine or four? Like, you put wine. Like, what's that? Did you have a handful of goldfish or the whole bag? Like, we just need to know. And so having like an honest conversation conversation with yourself. Like, am I taking ownership of my nutrition? Like, I'm going to the gym, but when I'm there, am I fully present? And am I listening to my trainer or my coach? Am I pushing myself or am I nervous? What's their limiting belief? Like, did they think if they attempt that bench press or that squat or whatever, what if they fail? What if you fail? What if you fail? What if you go and you've been working on pull-ups? I love to do pull-ups. I wasn't able to do them when I started, but now I can. And so it's like, you just gonna have to try, like put some honest effort in, have honest conversations with yourself. Like, am I giving it my best effort? Am I being honest with my nutrition and with myself? And then what's my limiting belief going, oh, well, I'm just always going to be a person who is 20 pounds overweight, or I'm always going to be the person that can't do this, right? It's like, well, who said that for you? Who made that your truth? You can buck up against that in all areas of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say, be honest with yourself. What's your effort like? And what are the lies that you're telling yourself that are just not true? Because we talk so badly to ourselves as women. You know, we look at every stretch mark, every wrinkle, every whatever, and you're like, oh, but I'm like, a lot of us have carried babies and nursed babies. And even if they weren't our biological babies, you've carried them in your arms and in a car seat with your heart. And so like we have our bodies do so much for us that we're so mean to them sometimes, you know, like give your body the respect it deserves because it's super capable, no matter what its shape, size. And, you know, just because it looks a certain way now doesn't mean that has to be true in 5 years, you know?
Yeah. I'm like watching you say all this and I'm like, gosh, you're probably such a great, you've never personally coached me, but I'm like, I can hear the coach in you because I'm such like a feelings, you know, I'm like, tell the woman how she should feel if she's, you know, and you're like, well, let's see what you're journaling. Let's see what you're tracking, you know, and I'm like, oh, she is just calling it out. And like,
I mean, you know,
I love it.
That's why we hire coaches because they need to be mirrors sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, and everything you're saying, it's so resonating. You know, part of this particular episode, I'm like, I kind of just want to have a conversation for me. And then like if anyone else wants to listen in, like they're welcome to.
Yeah, that's fine.
I need to know all of this, Payden, and you're the girl to tell me. Well, what have we not talked about that you feel like, you know, in your career, in your position as a mom, as a business owner, as a coach, you know, what are some of the things, if you could just, you know, here's the mic, tell us what, you know, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned? You know, what are some things that you would do maybe differently, or things that you're like, I didn't know that I should have done it this way, but I'm so glad I did, you know?
So let's see. I think we talked about limiting beliefs. That was really powerful when my counselor and therapist helped me address that, because I kept going in there and being like, I'm just not a business owner. Like, I don't know how to run this thing. And she's like, you've been doing it for 7 years. That's not dumb luck. Like, look back, girlfriend. Like, you're doing it and you're doing it now. Like, you didn't just stumble over here. So, like, unlocking those limiting beliefs, so that I could really thrive and be the leader that my team needs. And so whatever that is for, you know, someone sitting in the seat listening to this, for us as a business, which I would imagine would also be true for an individual, is when we were working through Traction, Gino Wickman's book, we had to identify our core values, which as a doer, I'm an action taker. We were with this business coach and he's like, we're going to identify our core values today. I'm like, this sounds terrible. This is not going to make me any more money. This is stupid. This is like a worksheet. I was like ready to fire him on the spot. And so we do his little exercise. Well, I'm so grateful for that because we identified our core values as a business. And it's been so powerful because whenever I feel friction, it's usually because one of those values is someone's hitting me wrong on my core values. And I'm not talking about the little posters we had in school that say perseverance, integrity.
Yeah.
It's like, we know exactly what they are and what they're not.
Yeah.
And so when we did that, it was super powerful. I'm so sad I had a bad attitude. Shame on me. But it's really been our entire funnel and filter for how we make decisions in our business, who we hire, who we do not hire. And when we have difficult clients, it's usually because they don't fit one of those values. And so I can have a really powerful conversation with someone and identify, hey, the reason I'm calling you today is because that conversation that we had, it rubbed up against this core value of mine, which is one of them is consistency in who you are and how you show up. So I hope I'm consistent here and at the gym and at the grocery store and at my kids' games. And so when you talked to me that yesterday morning and you said XYZ, it didn't match who you are. And so that's one of my values. And so I'm upset with you about that because it kind of went against my values, but you're usually very consistent, which is why I like you. So what happened?
Yeah.
So it's been so powerful to identify our core values in our business. And I would imagine personally, because that really is what they are to me personally as well. But in all of our coaches know them. We make decisions through those. So it's like, if you feel adrift, perhaps, and maybe you do in this season of life, your kids are older, maybe you aren't working, like spend some time and be like, what are my core values? And if something comes along your way that either brushes up against them or doesn't fit in that filter, it's a great way to say no, to say yes. And it just gave us so much clarity.
Yeah.
It was really powerful when we did that. And then I guess the third thing I would say, like, God really does show up when we stop gripping things so tightly. Right before COVID, Lane was working probably 60 to 80 hours a week, coaching all the time. He was never home. I was super sad because I'm like, we have these two kids. I quit my job and I never see you. All I do is work. And we had one of our coaches come to us during the gym closure and said, if you hire me full time, you'll never work a Friday ever again. Our gym was closed and he was asking for a manager salary, which is not any knock on him. He had a vision and he brought me this schedule and we said, you know what, we'll do it. Sure. Because Lane had come to the realization of like, I'm working too much. I'm missing my kids. I'm missing my wife. I can't do this forever because there was an imposed limitation because we had to be closed during COVID.
Yeah.
We open back up. We hire him as a manager. We give him profit sharing. We had every Friday off. Still do. Thank you, Chris. And our revenue in 2 years doubled. And that makes no mathematical sense.
Yeah.
But God doesn't follow our math. And so what happened was we had Fridays together. We had more margin. We weren't so tethered to the business. And literally our revenue doubled when the 2 years that he was there.
Yeah.
And so that it didn't make earthly sense, but we felt like it was the right choice. And it really gave us the opportunity to get out of the weeds of the business and actually grow it. And if we hadn't done that, I don't know where we'd be today. So it's like, sometimes it doesn't seem logical on paper, but then if God's calling you to do it, he already has the details worked out. So just take the step, like he's saying the destination's over here. You don't have to see the whole pathway.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you this step. I'll figure the rest out. Because if you saw the whole path, you wouldn't go. You'd be like, that's too scary. That's A, that's a long way away. And B, that's kind of scary. So it's just like, he's going to illuminate the next step,
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Yeah, literally, Andy and I were just talking about how I think I read this somewhere, but it was super applicable for us as business owners right now with shifts happening in our industry with tariffs and things like that, where I'm like, babe, if all the options that we think are out there, we already know what the options are. So we're trying to figure out like, what's the best option here? I'm like, then we're already wrong. Like God has options out there that we can't even fathom. And I'm the girl that's like preaching this, like this is my message, like trust God in the unknown. Like he's going to show up so big if you just let go. And I'm over here like, let's weigh our options. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, babe.
Trust God. But meanwhile, you're like, but yeah, when you start preaching something, God really does like poke at you. Like, do you believe that? Do you believe that?
If this is your message, you better get 100% behind it because you're going to have some moments here to really stand up.
Sure.
I was literally thinking about that this morning. I'm like, it's really easy. It's a lot easier for me to cheer on other people and be like, oh my gosh, I can see it. And I'm 100% genuine. Like, I'm like, God's going to do this for you. Like, I believe in you. Take the step, be bold. Like, God's got this. And then when it comes to me, I'm like, yeah, well, mine's different. Mine's harder. Mine's way more complicated than this. I don't, and I'm like, I have been convicted a lot lately and in the best way, where I'm like, man, every 24 hours, I'm like a new person because I'm like, God got a hold of me today and like shook this out, and like put me back on my head again and shook out that, like you called it a limiting belief, really limiting what God is able to do in so many situations. And yeah, I love that. I love stories of when it doesn't make sense and you trusted God with, here's my business, here's somebody new on the payroll, here's somebody with new vision, new energy. You call me to it. I'm going to see what you do here because we're closed. Like our hands are tied.
Literally, our hands were tied. We reopened with Chris, and it's funny because this is how we got here today. So God's just been so interwoven into it. He kept telling me about his soon-to-be brother-in-law, which I kind of kept dismissing. Like, that's great. He lives in Mississippi. Like, I'm never going to meet the dude. Like, okay, carry on. And then we needed a coach, and I was like, wait a minute, didn't you say your future brother-in-law is a strength coach? He goes, yeah, they're going to move up here in June, and I needed a coach in June of 2020. We had just been reopened. And so I hired Noah, and Noah's been with us for 5 years. He's the director of our business, which basically means he runs the whole ship basically at our direction, but he is in charge. He's amazing. He leads our coaches well. He's a servant leader. And so it's just funny when I trusted God with that. Chris went on to do other things, great departure launch for him. He brought me Noah, and it's just been like so interesting because, I mean, he's been in a coaching role for 5 years at a privately owned club. That is unheard of. It has I think our industry has like an 18-month tenure is average. So he's coming up on 5 years, and he does all the sales. He has all the back end work, and he runs the show. And we're at the point now where I'll look at him and be like, no, I just, and he's like, you don't know how to do it. I'm like,
yes.
Lane and I are moving away from being self-employed to being like true entrepreneurs. Like, hey, this thing needs to run without me. I've babysat it for 13 years. It's time for it to grow up and be its own thing and not be so tethered to me, so that I can have the freedom to do, what I want to do when I want to do it on my terms. I mean, I'll still be at the gym working out, but it's just interesting. Trusting God back in that 2020 moment felt so stressful. Like we weren't even going to have a business at the end of the year. It turned out to be 2 years of like record breaking sales. On comes Noah. It was just this cool story of like what to do if you just like, okay, I'm going to hold this loosely. Here you go. It's actually not my business. It actually belongs to you. Steward it well, I hope.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And I can totally attest when you can finally, when I can show up and be like, I don't know how to do this anymore. Yeah. It's like, this is happening. This has happened.
So great. It's a great feeling as an entrepreneur. If you are a business owner, man, the day you can walk into your business and be like, I don't remember how to do this.
Yes. Or y'all have improved this so much beyond how we used to do it 100%. That like, I love this.
I'm hiring people that are a lot smarter than me. I'm like, I'm just going to hire people smarter than me. They are.
Yeah. I love that. Well, your story and your testimony and your perspective of it all is amazing. I knew this was going to be a good conversation. So tell everybody where they can find you and your gym. And I can include a link to the Apex hormonal testing stuff that you talked about as well too.
For sure. As far as our website, it's GoPerformancePTC.com. That's also our Instagram handle. You can find us there. There's all kinds of tips like these and much more smaller chunks there as well if you want just little bite-sized tips and tricks to maximize and optimize your health and wellness journey.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, you guys share a lot of really great, helpful things. So, well, thank you again so much for being here today. This has been such a good conversation. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And everybody who's listening, thank you so much for joining us again. This season has been so fun, so rich, so many great stories of just women walking in obedience, stewarding what God has put before them, and trusting that He's going to do it better than us, even on the days that we're like, oh yeah, that is still true for me too. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So keep your big ideas coming, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in today. Before you go, it would mean the world to me and my family if you would share this episode with at least one person who you think might benefit from this message. And of course, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can also follow me at Ashlee Ilg on Instagram to keep up with our adventures and for continued encouragement as you pursue your big ideas. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time.